Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
Okay, because it's a short week here, we're gonna cram a bunch of fun stuff into this episode here, this bonus Tuesday episode of Purple Daily. We're gonna give you a little state of the offense snack, and then Judd's pigskin pecking order where he ranks the top 10 teams in the NFL, and then we'll do a if the playoffs started today update. But Padres is a great place to enjoy an adult beverage during this football season, Judd, huh?
Absolutely true, and it's because, guess what? Padres, they brew great beer, and that's all they brew. They're not in the business of trying to brew a bunch of different drinks. They brew fantastic beer, and I've talked a long time about the red. The red is absolutely great. The lager, great to watch a game with, can have a couple of those, no problem. And here is the best news. As you look, if you're watching this, at all of the beers available, Padres actually has a new distributor relationship now. And so if you go to your local liquor store or your bar and you do not see Padres on tap or in the liquor store, guess what? Just ask, because they can get it now. Padres, absolutely fantastic. And as Phil said too, they do have a great tap room. It's in the old Lando Nod factory at the corner of Broadway and Central Avenues in Northeast. But Padres available far and wide in the Twin Cities now, so check them out.
Yeah. Also, hey, Federated, we appreciate their partnership here on Purple Daily. And a lot of business owners have appreciated being partnered with Federated because they stay focused on safety, preventing claims, and risk management while you stay focused on growing your business. 1904 is when Federated was founded in Owatonna, Minnesota. They've now spread out all throughout the country, 50 states, working with businesses. So if you're a business owner, go to federatedinsurance.com to find a full list of industries they support and partner with, and find out all about their history and the resources they offer. At Federated Mutual Insurance Company, it's our business to protect yours. So, okay, state of the offense here, just kind of an abbreviated version of this real quick. Where does the Vikings offense rank in some key categories? Scoring offense, they're up to 8th in scoring. Yards per play, 11th. Analytically, offensive expected points added, they are 11th. Third down conversion rate, 11th after a nice night last night. Another nice night in the red zone too. 9th in red zone touchdown rate. They were like bottom third of the league a month ago. Now they're top 10. And turnover rate, they've kind of steadied the turnovers. They're 21st in turnover percentage. So again, a lot of like top 10-ish traits regarding this offense. Mostly a passing offense, but the running game definitely showed some more signs in the second half. So just generally your thoughts on the Vikings offense before I throw a question at you.
I think it's solid, and it also is nice because I think what we're seeing here lots of times is complementary football as well. So hand-in-hand football, because the defense definitely doing its job as well. But the red zone thing to me is important because we rightfully so complained about that. Like, when you get into the red zone, you need touchdowns. Field goals
the red area too.
Well, and the deep red, like if you go deep red, and look, it's condensed. It's hard. Like, it looks like, well, it should be simple to score touchdowns. You're in the red area. Well, it's not necessarily, but you still have to. I like what we've seen. To go back to the Justin Jefferson 7-yard touchdown catch of last night, set up through a lot of play action, and the run game set that up. So I think Kevin O'Connell, I think we hear an inordinate amount of complaints about his play calling, and I do agree he should run the ball more at times, but I think overall his play calling has been pretty spot on when you consider how we perceive it with the reality of how it's doing.
Yeah. And then state of Sam Darnold real quick here. Where does he rank in 7 key quarterback categories? So he is 4th in passer rating. He's 14th in QBR. He is 8th in analytically expected points added. He's 4th in yards per attempt. He's 7th in PFF grade, 7th in adjusted completion percentage, and 4th in big-time throw rate. Mm-hmm. If you average those 7 rankings out, he is the 7th best quarterback on average in those categories across the entire league. So that's pretty, man. I mean, if you would have gone back at any point during the summer or back in March, certainly, and said, hey, in these 7 categories, as we sit 3 games before the end of the regular season, Sam Darnold will be like the 7th best quarterback in the league. Wow.
The biggest reason why I think that the Vikings were, by the experts in Vegas, put on 6.5 wins was that position, right? Like everybody thought, and there was some, you did see some, well, the defense isn't that good. And it's like, well, hold on a second here. Like we were saying that from the beginning. Hold on a second here. The defense, first of all, went from being bad with Donatel to being solid in 23. And then they brought in a bunch of guys. Now we probably didn't think it would work this well, but we thought this defense is going to be just fine.
Yeah.
But every one of us, like you're lying if you said, well, and here's the other thing, Sam Darnold was going to be fantastic, right? So that was really the sole reason why I think the Vikings were seen as an also-ran was that position. And O'Connell, too, to his credit, has proven again that if you give him a piece of clay, he can mold that piece of clay. And the thing that impresses me the most there is big-time throws. The big-time throw rate efficiency, because that's the one thing when you watch Darnold, who's got a bleeping cannon for an arm, that is something that you probably couldn't use as much with Kirk for sure. Mm-hmm. That now is a difference. And look, as we get towards our off-season discussions about the quarterback position, that is one thing. Like JJ, like the big-time throws there. And it's not that he can't be fantastic. He can be. But that is one thing that Darnold has brought to the table that you take for granted when it's working, but you sure miss it when it's not there.
The definition of big time throw, by the way, it's a PFF scouting statistic. It's a little nebulous. They basically say you'll know it when you see it.
Yeah.
And it's defined. It's defined as a pass with excellent ball location and timing, generally thrown further down the field and or into a tighter window.
Football.
Yep. And it's a two-pronged thing, too, because we have seen Vikings quarterbacks capable of making big-time throws and receivers that either can't get there or can't catch them. Mm-hmm. So, like, this is Darnold's been great, but we can't forget the fact that he is also surrounded by some skill position guys who are phenomenal, including the not just Jefferson, but Addison's ability to track balls and catch those passes should not be slept on. It's really, really impressive.
Yeah. And so, like, this is an abbreviated version of state of the offense. And the one main category I want to drill down with you guys before Judd ranks the top 10 teams in the NFL is its organizational process. And it was on full display last night, the difference between where the Chicago Bears are at and where the Vikings are at. And if you think about 3 years ago, both franchises were in pretty similar positions where they made the decision to go hunting for a new general manager and a new coach. In the case of the Bears, they already had their young quarterback in Justin Fields, who they drafted top 10. The Vikings had Cousins, but were definitely open to a new young quarterback. So maybe the Bears were like a little ahead in terms of, well, we already have our young guy.
Right.
And I'm trying to decide, is the NFL, because it's a bunch of rich billionaire business, family, and ownership groups that presumably have built wealth through business and smart decisions over maybe decades, right? Are bad hires just kind of a crapshoot? But like, if you look at, and the Bears have made a bunch of just bad choices and decisions at front office and coach.
Right.
But 3 years ago, the Bears went and hired Matt Eberflus. And now all these reports are coming out now that he's gone and people are sharing more information because he's out of the league kind of. And so I think there was a report from The Athletic that I saw a couple days ago that the Colts were actually about to fire Eberflus as their defensive coordinator back 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. And then the Bears came stumbling in. They hire Ryan Poles to be the GM, and he's like, "We're gonna take the NFC North for the rest of the decade, starting with our new head coach Matt Eberflus." And the Colts are like, "Okay, yeah, we were gonna fire him, but if you want to make him your head coach,
oh no,
that's fine.
He was great. What are you talking about? Oh, lose Matt? No, never. Oh, you're hiring him? Okay."
And I think I've got this right. Did I read also that Poles and Eberflus shared an agent too? or some connection, like a behind the scenes connection, and that's how they maybe became familiar with each other.
Totally possible.
So anyways, like their flawed process leads them to a guy that was about to be a guy that was not super highly regarded. He was not like a Ben Johnson type or whoever.
Right.
He was about to be fired. The Bears hire him as a head coach. He's also a defensive guy that they're about to hire to oversee Justin Fields' development. So that was a train wreck. And then they move on from Justin Fields into the Caleb Williams. It all overlaps incorrectly. The Vikings, meanwhile, said, okay, we are looking for positive energy, offensive-minded probably, and someone who can elevate Cousins, but more importantly, someone who can help us get into the next 10-year period of whoever our quarterback's going to be. And I guess my question to you guys is this all the crapshoot that the Vikings just got lucky at the hiring roulette table? Or do you think the Wilfs are just awesome at sniffing out, hey, okay, this person has it, this person doesn't? Is it luck? Did the Vikings get lucky? Was it just, they knew without a shadow of a doubt that Kwesi and KOC were the tandem?
It's a cyclical crapshoot is what this is. First of all, Ryan Poles, according to reporting, was the Vikings' first choice. They didn't offer him enough, so he went to the Bears. Now the Bears are like it's incredible when you think about, to your point, Phil. You know, these teams are owned by billionaires, right? But there's about a handful that run franchises like they're a 2-bit dime store. Like the McCaskies have run the Bears into the ground. But if you look at the Vikings, so they also went off the grid then for Kwesi, who, I mean, nobody was going to. He was not going to get a job like this anywhere else. Like, this was not a bidding war. But then, if you recall, and we did shows. In fact, one of our most watched shows was Kwesi brings his guy Jim Harbaugh here.
Yeah.
You know, and Jim Harbaugh, I think, was his choice. Now, the cyclical nature of the crapshoot is this. The Vikings, because Jim Harbaugh would have been a huge name, and as he's proving with the Chargers, like, the guy does win. They've been on a slump of late with the Chargers, but he does win. But the Vikings were like, hold on a second here. From a front office standpoint, not Kwesi, but I think more so from the business side and the Wilfs as well. They said, we just fired a coach who was a very strong-willed guy in Zimmer, right? Jim Harbaugh is very strong-willed. We want a guy that's more of a culture builder.
Well, so, Kevin's very strong-willed too.
And so then they turned, but O'Connell is also a guy that's perceived as far more of a long-term type of guy.
KOC is a connector of people. Yeah, Zimmer is a divider of people.
But yes. But Harbaugh was perceived more internally like Zimmer was.
Which is wrong, by the way. Like,
but that's
as Boone has pointed out a million times.
But that's the point. But the point is, this is where it is a crapshoot. Because if KO had just been fired, Harbaugh is probably a slam dunk, because it's like, we need a guy that's going to instill more of a hard-nosed football culture. So it's a mixture of things. The Wilfs have learned as well, but I mean, there are some missteps certainly with them. But I think it's a lot of good fortune too.
It's a little bit of good fortune. Like, I've obviously went on the record with you guys before numerous times. Like, I think the draft is much more random than something like this. Like, if you look organizationally at what the Vikings have done, like, they aren't the Jets, they aren't the Browns, where they're firing a coach every 2 years, where they're bringing in a new GM every 4 years. Like, Rick Spielman was here for a long time. Mike Zimmer was here for a long time. You know, Brad Childress and Leslie Frazier and Mike Tice, like, maybe not, the most well-regarded head coaches, but Denny Green even before them, like, they've had pretty good infrastructure at two very important things, either at GM or head coach. So I wouldn't say it's a lot of luck. I think drafting ends up being a lot more like of a shrug emoji than it is nailing good front office and good head coach, and also having the collaboration, which I know is sometimes like now just an annoyed buzzword. But Kwesi literally picks Kevin O'Connell, and Kevin O'Connell says, hey, I'm not drafting this quarterback. Like, you and your scouts might like him, but this is not the guy that is the best for our system.
Will Levis.
Because, like, Spielman and Zimmer by the end were just like, They were self-serving each other. They were self-serving the individual person. Where I think Kwesi and Kevin O'Connell, it is a collaborative group where there's going to be disagreements, but it's not going to be I'm doing this and bleep off. I don't think it's luck with the fact the Vikings nailed KOC and Kwesi.
Well, with what baffles me is with these coaching searches, the Bears presumably spent hours with Matt Eberflus, at least a full day, and then other interviews and information gathering, and they determined, oh yeah, this is a leader of men. This is a modern day. This is one of the 32 best American football coaches and leaders in the world, and we are going to put him in a position to lead the Chicago Bears back to glory. And you wind up just watching this dude operate for 3 years, very clearly. Look at the way Dan Campbell commands a culture, the way Kevin O'Connell does, and then you watch Eberflus. It's not to dump on the guy. KOC, if they spent 8 hours or 10 hours with KOC, it's very apparent at that point. Okay, it's hard to lie your way through 8 or 10 hours if you know what you're looking for. I feel if you're the Wilfs and if you're Kwesi. And so credit to them for at least, okay, let's spend some time with him and see what he's like in a room. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I agree with Judd to some extent that you just kind of go through these cycles, and the same ownership group thought that Leslie Frazier was going to be a great leader of men, and he wasn't.
Well, and they look, the Bears went what? They went to Kansas City. They poached Matt Nagy. This guy's a quarterback guy. He knows Andy Reid. Okay, that's great. He washes out completely. What do you do next? We need a defensive guy this time around. The offensive guy didn't work. We need a defensive guy. What did the Vikings do? We had a defensive guy. Didn't work, or it actually did work for quite a while.
It worked really well, actually.
Yeah, it worked. Well, it didn't work at the end. It certainly didn't work with Kirk. Yeah. And when your GM and coach don't talk, that does not work. But then the Vikings said, we need to pivot to a culture guy who preferably knows offense. I will say this, though. You are starting to see, if I'm going to hire a coach right now, just sort of sight unseen, I'm going to spend a lot of time with him, but I've not watched him coach games. I am more to the point now where I think the Shanahan tree, that tree is really good, really fruitful. The Belichick tree, rotten as can be. That terrible tree. The Andy Reid tree, not so great. Not so great. Not terrible. But the Bill Walsh tree, which goes back to Mike Holmgren, Denny Green, subsequently Reed, was good. So I think you got to look at what works. And when you look at McVay, when you look at O'Connell, Shanahan, LaFleur to me is a different personality, but he gets results. And I think he's a pretty positive dude. So anyway, that's where it comes down to a bit of luck, but also, in 2006, starting out, the Wilfs got Brad Childress in a room, and he had been, the coordinator du jour there for a couple of years. And because Philly made runs, he didn't get jobs. Well, they finally didn't make a run. And he basically threatened them and said, if I leave this room, I'm going to Green Bay next, and I'm going to take that job. And they're like, you can't leave, you can't leave, you can't leave. So there are probably lessons learned as well. But I do think that if they weren't coming out of Zimmer, they don't probably hire a real culture, people building person like Kevin.
Yeah. Also, you and I have had many fights over the years about Brad Childress. I think if you were to have said back in 2006, hey, so he's going to give you 4 full years. He's going to get fired in the 5th year, but he's going to give you 4 full years. He's going to win a division championship with Tavares Jackson and Gus Frerotte as quarterbacks, and then he's going to take you to the NFC Championship game. Brett Favre had a little something to do with that too.
Right.
I don't view the Childress era as being a stain on the Wilfs ownership resume, because they did go to an NFC Championship game with Brad as the head coach. Zimmer was a better coach than Brad, and KOC, I think, pretty obviously is a better coach than Brad. But I don't know that he's a stain on the Wilfs resume.
Brad was a good personnel guy. He had no people skills though.
He did, yeah. He did
as a coach, he was actually a really good personnel guy. What he wasn't great at was, and a game day coach, at the end of the day, the Saints debacle falls on him.
Yeah, 12
and and Brett's changing plays and he's getting pissed and things like that. You just look at what O'Connell brings and what Brad brought, And it's like one of these guys is a really good offensive mind, and one knows what he wants to do, but he ain't as good as he thinks he is.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, however, whether it's whatever the
But
pie
it doesn't
chart of
matter at
luck
this point.
is, like they nailed it, and we talked with Doogie today on the Scoop about whether Kwesi should be the NFL's Executive of the Year. I mean, that's where we're sitting here with 3 weeks left in the regular season. Okay, Judd's gonna rank the top 10 teams in the NFL after you tell the audience about Stoked.
Oh, you know what? There is no off season for grill masters. Okay, let's make that clear. It might be cold outside, but if you're a grilling type of person, you don't care, and that's why I want to talk to you about Stoked Barbecue Pellets, company based right here in our fine state. A premium pellet that cooks anything you throw on the grill or smoker to delicious perfection. You can find Stoked at all 22 Fratelloni's hardware and garden stores. Perfect for pellet grills and pellet smokers and really all types of grills. Find Stoked Barbecue Pellets, 50-count fire starter buckets, 4-count fire starter bags, and barbecue caddy. The caddies are a perfect holiday gift. I'm going to tell you right now, if you know a person that loves to grill, then you want to get them the barbecue caddy. Again, available at all 22 Fratelloni's hardware and garden stores, or check them out at StokedBBQ.com. StokedBBQ.com. Don't go with the big guys. Go with Stoked.
Also, Nicolay Law, helping to power Purple Daily. Nicolay Law knows that when you or a loved one gets injured, ordinary life can come to a stop. That's where you need a guiding hand like Russell Nicolay and his team that are very much ingrained in the Twin Cities. They're just your normal everyday folks that are here to help you get the compensation you deserve after an accident. So if you've been injured, you or a loved one, make sure you get Minnesota's local award-winning injury lawyers, NicolayLaw.com, or give them a call at 1-855-NICOLAY. Hey, the Fillmore, also a great place not only to see the Purple Daily Draft Party. Last year we had a great time, but other cool things going on at the Fillmore on a regular basis, Dex.
Yeah, scorenorth.com/events to see all the great shows coming up at the Fillmore this year. We had an awesome time there, obviously at the draft party in April. You can go see legitimate rock stars too. You can, we consider ourselves Purple Daily rock stars.
Big time rock stars.
If you want to see some musical acts, they have a little bit of a pause right now, but big shows coming up in the new year after the holidays here. Foster the People in February. A lot of good stuff. The Taylor Swift dance party is coming up. So a lot of great shows, Judd. Okay? Can't miss stuff. ScoreNorth.com/events.
Tay-Tay?
Tay-Tay.
Yeah, Tay-Tay. That's right.
The year store's over, baby.
All right. Yeah. Judd's pigskin pecking order here. Where will he have the Vikings among his top 10 NFL teams?
Okay. All right. So 4 playoff teams remain out. I'll give you those first. The Commanders are out. They are the 7th seed currently right now in the NFC. They're out largely because their strength of victory is 280. You don't make it if
Woof.
Sorry. All right. Dropping out, somewhat controversial, the NFC South, and now having clinched a playoff spot, Houston Texans. Also out, the 6 and 7 wild cards in the American Football Conference, the Broncos, who are pushing to get in, plus 89. They're pushing with Bo Nix, and the Chargers, who have dropped a couple of games and are struggling a little bit, 8 and 6. So those are the 4 teams that are out.
The Broncos, by the way, the disrespect here is palpable.
Oh, there's always going to be disrespect for somebody.
The Broncos are number 2 in the NFL defensively in yards per play allowed. Uh-huh. And I believe they have the number 1 scoring defense. They do. They have the number 1 scoring defense in the only 17.5 points per game allowed.
Yeah.
Not to mention Bo Nix. He played kind of crappy the other week. But
you know what? Sunday. Somebody's always going to be on the outside looking in. The Broncos fans and Texans fans, very upset right now. But let's get to the top 10. Dropping out besides the Texans are the Seattle Seahawks, who the Vikings obviously play on Sunday. Sam Howell might be at quarterback. Now, I'm going to warn you before I start. Warning, I do this, and I've talked about this before, like the NCAA College Football Playoff Committee. The College Football Playoff Committee takes into account if you have a lot of guys injured, you're going to be punished because you're not the same team.
Yeah, Florida State. Sorry.
Be wary. Be wary. Honolulu Blue Detroit Lions. That's all I got to say.
Oh, are they 10th?
Number 10. Number 10. Jumping into the rankings. Probably not as high as Phil Mackey would like. The Los Angeles Rams coming off a win against the 49ers.
Yeah.
8-6, won 3 consecutive games. Strength of schedule 534. Strength of victory 473. So why 10? They're a minus 28 in point differential.
Oh, pish posh.
You get penalized for that. The Broncos plus 89. Don't tempt me. Don't tempt me to replace the Rams with the Broncos.
Well, the Rams, part of it is like the Rams started 1-4.
Mm-hmm.
They lost to the Cardinals in week 2, 41-10, and I feel like they've been digging out of that point differential ever since.
I know. Yeah. Number 9, coming off a win against the Chargers, led by the first overall pick in the 2018 draft, not to be confused with Sam Darnold, the third pick in that draft. Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers, 8-6, plus 77, 4 consecutive wins, strength of schedule 528, strength of victory 477. Tampa Bay is number 8.
You know what the Buccaneers are doing right now? Dano, they're peaking at the right time.
That's true. And the Rams might be as well.
They're both peaking at the right time.
Yep.
Number 8, dropping 1 spot as I play the hits here. Coming off a win against the New York Football Giants, the Baltimore Ravens. They're 9-5, plus 86 in point differential. Strength of schedule 538. Strength of victory is 516. Been impressive all year long.
Mm-hmm.
The Ravens are number 8.
The Ravens' offense remains just an absolute boss. Lamar Jackson, is it 37 touchdowns accounted for and 3 interceptions on the season too?
It's nuts.
They average 7 yards per play. Dangerous offense.
Number 7. So the Ravens right now are a wild card in the AFC North because the leader of that division is number 7. Down 1 spot, actually. It's getting to be nut-cutting time when it comes to this exercise. Loss to the Eagles has dropped the Steelers to number 7. 10-4 plus 71 point differential, so impressive. 438 strength of schedule, 420 strength of victory. Pittsburgh is number 7 at 10-4.
They're lucky they clinched now and that the AFC has a huge drop off because their next 3 games to finish the year after the loss to Philadelphia, at Baltimore on Saturday, and then Kansas City on Christmas, and then a battle with the Bengals where Bengals might be clawing to like a 9th win by the time that game
Joe
rolls
Burrow
around.
Lights out, so.
Well, he was John Boy did a breakdown of Joe Burrow
I got to watch that.
like responding to Zach Taylor was like, yeah, and Joe Burrow basically said like, F this, it's effing embarrassing. It's effing embarrassing. We're effing 6-8.
He's right.
And he's just dismissing
Good for him.
Zach Taylor.
I love that. God, I love that. All right, so Steelers are number 7. And number 6, up 2 spots after a convincing Sunday night win against the Seahawks. Number 6 is the Green Bay Packers. 10-4, plus 92. I mean, this division's a gauntlet, man. The Lions are plus 177 in point differential. The Vikings are plus 117, and the Packers are a plus 92. The Packers' strength of schedule 552, strength of victory 432. The Green Bay Packers round out the 10-6 spots.
Boy, very controversial here. Judd going against the grain of most national power rankings, having the Packers below the Vikings. Crazy.
That's how I work. Oh, you just wait. You just wait. We're now going to delve into the top 5. Put on your seatbelt. Number 5. Staying where they were last week, win against the Browns. Patrick Mahomes banged up. The Chiefs, 13-1. Point differential plus 70, which in the rare air that this altitude has gone to right now is not that great. They've won 4 consecutive games. Strength of schedule 446. Strength of victory 419. Mahomes twists or sprains his ankle, I think, every year at this time, and it becomes a huge storyline. And he might miss part of a game, but he'll be playing.
It's definitely his thing.
I hurt my ankle. Okay,
his weak, hobbled ankles.
Yeah, exactly right. So the Chiefs stay at 5, 13-1. Doesn't really feel like a 13-1 team, but I will say this: the defense, Spags again, defensively, this team's got some things going for it. So anyway, Chiefs at number 5. Now brace yourself, boys, because we're into the top 4, and it's about. Let's just say this: if we're flying a plane right now, the fasten seatbelt light goes on. I just told the servers to take their carts to the back to the galley and sit down.
Oh, I don't like that.
Because we're about to hit choppy air.
I don't like. I always look at the flight attendants in the event of turbulence, and this is now causing me discomfort. I don't like this.
If they're nervous, you should be
I'm
nervous.
Well, you know what?
Yes.
Get in the jump seats right now, flight attendants.
Oh,
Put your seatbelts on because we're about to go through a storm, and it's going to be hell for the Detroit Lions, who are number 4.
Wow.
I'm dropping them to 4.
Wow.
The loss to the Bills is not why, okay? So just to be very clear, for the first time, this is version 8 for me. For the first time this season, the Lions aren't number 1, and it's not because they lost a game. They're 12-2. It's going to happen. You're going to lose. The Bills are very good. And Detroit, plus 177, as I mentioned. Strength of schedule, 536. Strength of victory, 512. Everything screams, why would you drop them? They should be the best team. I debated this, but you cannot have 16 players on defense out. David Montgomery, who's part of probably is one of, if not the best running back tandem with Jahmyr Gibbs, right? He's out. His season is done. The Lions are so decimated that I can't believe. I can't believe. So I just dropped them to 4. Not based on a loss, but based on losses of... They're literally calling guys on their couches to beg them to play for them.
So you're kind of projecting here. Dan Campbell's trying to tell everyone, hey, everyone needs to calm down. And it's going to be hard to tell, too, because their next game is against the Bears. So they could probably roll through that dead franchise and nobody's going to think anything else. The game against the Niners on Monday night, December 30th, the Niners may or may not have something to play for. They may or may not be ravaged with injuries too. So we may not actually find out about the Lions until they face the Vikings, if that game matters, week 18. Because I feel like you can kind of cover up if you take a 10-0 lead on Chicago.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
It doesn't. Like, your defense, just pin your ears back at that point, right?
Right.
I'm curious about when they fall behind like they did against Buffalo, or when the game is kind of close like it was against Green Bay. That's when they've started to get into like 30 points allowed, 40 points allowed.
Yep. And Campbell's going to freak out too. They might not punt for the rest of the season. He's going to absolutely freak out.
Yeah, I could see.
Like,
that.
we're not going to put our defense on the field. We're going to keep the offense out there. Anyway, yes, I am 100% projecting, but it is my job to put together the best list possible based on a multitude. Like, I sit down. I was up until 2 a.m. last night, sitting down here, grinding through this thing. The Lions are number 4.
Wow. Amazing. Wow. So here we go into the top 3.
All right. Number 3 from the National Football Conference. Team that is 12-2. It is the Philadelphia Eagles.
Wow.
Okay, so I've seen rankings. I've seen a few rankings this week where the Eagles are 1. Plus 122 point differential. Franchise record consecutive 10-game win streak. Strength of schedule 454. Strength of victory 440. All well and good. All fantastic. Same reason I had them 3 last week. I have them 3 this week. The amount of dysfunction in this franchise scares me. The amount of dysfunction, absolutely 100%. There's something off here. It doesn't feel like it's right. And it doesn't, and I don't necessarily think it's going to be fruitful. I'm leaving them at 3 largely because of that. They did beat the Steelers. They are very good. No one is debating that. But I dropped the Lions because of injuries. I'm holding the Eagles where they were because I don't necessarily believe in their act.
They're so talented.
I know.
They have, if you just ranked rosters, like, it is a top 3 roster in the NFL. Their defensive front, they've got a huge offensive line, Saquon Barkley. They got 2 great receivers. You know, Jalen Hurts, maybe not the most accurate passer, but he's a dual threat quarterback. So like they should be really good, but yeah, it does feel like these last 2 wins, and you got receiver popping off, and you got head coach and defensive line coach button heads, and something just we'll see. If there was one team, one market, one fan base, that could do it all the way to the finish line and get there infighting, it'd probably be Philadelphia. They would just somehow they'd hoist a trophy and they're punching each other while they do it. But
Yep, you're right.
they're playing at a desperate Washington team this weekend, then home against a feistier than you thought Dallas team. They've been winning some games that you probably didn't think they would, but then they close out against the Giants. So it is a week. It's 3 division games, but it is a weak schedule compared to what the Vikings and Lions have.
It just feels, from a playoff standpoint, it feels like the pot is boiling and no one's watching it.
Yeah. Okay. So, wow. Number 2.
12-2. Coming off a win against the Bears last night. Holding it at where I had them last week, the Minnesota Vikings. Point differential plus 117. They have now won 7 consecutive games. Keep in mind, they have put together a 6-game win streak to open the season, followed by 2 losses, followed by a 7-game win streak. Strength of schedule, 434. I considered dropping him because the strength of victory actually fell because they played the Bears. So right now it is 387. But I like them more as a team, certainly, than I do Philadelphia. And they also, and the thing too here is the Vikings have a ton of talent. Like from our discussions, the free agent class, the skill position guys on offense. Like there is a lot of talent there. Flat out, if you were to say to me today, do you want O'Connell or Nick Sirianni? Ain't a choice. I'm taking O'Connell 100 out of 100 times. The Minnesota Vikings hold at the 2nd spot.
And that means the Buffalo Bills, unless you're pulling a shocker entirely here, putting the Red Hot Bengals up at the top of your list.
Nope, you were absolutely incorrect. The Arizona Cardinals are my top team.
The Falcons after a big bounce back last night.
So I'll preface this by saying, so the Buffalo Bills, I dropped them before. I move them back up 11-3, point differential plus 135. Strength of schedule is 510. Strength of victory is very solid, 481. But let me tell you right now, I struggled with the top team here because as bad as the Lions' defense is for obvious reasons, the Bills have been hemorrhaging points themselves the last 2 weeks. Yeah. They lost to the Rams and damn near won because the quarterback is so good. They beat the Lions, but darn near lost. And again, Josh Allen comes in to save the day. I have some trepidations, though. Like, the Bills' defense is leaky. It's not playing well. So I go Bills, Vikings, Eagles, Lions, and Chiefs are my top 5. 6 through 10, Packers, Steelers, Ravens, Bucks, and Rams. Packers definitely trying to kick down the door, though, to move up.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I do think the Bills are number 1. And then it's kind of, what's your flavor after that? So tough to poke too many holes in. I would have found room for the Broncos some way, somehow. But
yeah, who would you move out?
Oh, man. I guess I probably moved the Bucks out, but the Bucks have won 4 in a row, and their offense is lights out. So there's some really feisty, competitive teams. Like after you get even past the big 12-win teams,
it's really fun. Yes, absolutely.
And I know we got to get going here in a minute, but just real quick, if the playoffs started today, here's what the NFC bracket would look like. Lions, based on tiebreakers, would still get the number 1 seed and the bye. The Eagles would host the 7-seed Commanders. The Buccaneers, the 3 seed, would host the 6-seed Packers. And then you'd get a rematch at SoFi Stadium with the Rams hosting the Vikings. Super wild card weekend.
Oh, yeah. KO against his guy, his mentor of some sort.
The AFC would think about these fun matchups. Chiefs would get the bye and the 1 seed. And then you'd have the 2-seed Bills hosting the 7-seed Jim Harbaugh Chargers, which could be a really fun chess match.
Yep.
You get the 3-seed Steelers hosting the 6-seed Broncos, and then you get the 4-seed Texans hosting the 5-seed Ravens.
Just inject it all right
dude,
here.
Super wild card weekend.
Just inject super wild card weekend. Dawn, I'm not available this weekend. I'm injecting Super Wild Card. Oh no.
This is Purple Daily, where we just want the Vikings to win a
too
Super
much.
Bowl before we die of wild card overdose.